So I'm originally from Santiago, Chile. So I was born there. And then when I was about 2 years old, we left to live in England.
Oh,
so
wow.
I lived in England for about 10 years on and off. We went to England, came back to Chile for a little bit, back to England. So, and then, came back to Chile. And then when I was 15, we decided to move here to the United States. So even at the age of 15, I'd already lived in 3 different countries. Now I've lived in 4 different countries. Yeah, but anyway, so obviously went to school here, went to school up at UC Berkeley, and then, became a lawyer. I went to law school, and luckily for me, I got the dream of working got a job at a great law firm. And
so was it always, are you like, I want to be a lawyer since I was a kid?
Honestly, it was like I didn't know what else to do.
It was like, it pays well, man.
It pays well. I didn't know what else to do. And
help
like
people
I said,
get out of trouble.
I got super lucky, got drafted or recruited to a really nice firm that did a lot of securities. But, probably like a lot of people, I was not really happy there. I just felt like there was something missing. I felt there was a little bit more. You get into that rat race and that rut of getting up in the morning and showering and getting ready and driving to work, working all day, coming home, maybe working out, maybe not, going to bed. And as lawyers, we keep we keep track of every like 6 minutes of our lives, and there's a lot of weekends, and I just knew there was something better or something different. And luckily for me, as probably a lot of your listeners and watchers, is that, I came across a little purple book, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, man, the magical book. If we get a dime, Italo, for every person that mentioned this book here, we would be rich right now.
I'm telling you, we should get some royalties every time we read it.
I know, dude. It's a fabulous book.
So, I was actually at a birthday party in Miami, found the book, read it on the way back to LA, and obviously, like everybody else, blew me away.
And he always happens on the plane, too.
Right? And I almost didn't buy it. Like, back then, I didn't like books with the word rich in them. Yeah. I was like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There's something about a rich life. And I'm like, I don't really want to get it. But it was like a #1 New York bestseller. So I'm like, screw it, I'll get it. Right. And luckily I did. But it was more than that, because it wasn't just the fact that I read the book like so many of you guys have, but it's like literally 3 weeks after I read that book, I'm driving down the street in the streets of LA, and I hear a radio drop in that Robert Kiyosaki does. He's like, hey, this is Rich Dad. This is the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. If you're interested in investing in real estate, check out the real estate guys, because they really know what they're talking about. And had I not read the book, that would have meant nothing to me. I would have heard a radio ad and I would have just kept on. But that got me introduced to sort of my next layer of my life, which is going to work for the real estate guys, who obviously they're big real estate folks. And that got me out of the rat race of working for the law firm and then coming over and becoming general counsel for these guys.
What kind of law were you practicing before?
I was a litigator. So my job was to defend some of these big securities firms like the JP Morgans of the world, Merrill Lynch, American Express, whatever. But it was whenever they got sued, they would hire a firm. I was a defense attorney, and so we would do all the depositions and the interrogatories and the trials and the motions and all that kind of stuff. And it was fun. I spent a lot of time in courtrooms. I spent a lot of time in arbitrations, because securities is a lot of arbitration work and some appellate work. So I got to practice in front of the federal judges, which is a completely different world. The difference between going into a state courthouse versus a federal courthouse is it's like going into this podcast and then going into a Zoom podcast.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. That's fun.
So that got me out, and that was great. And so that's really where I cut my teeth on the syndication, because back then those guys were doing a ton of syndications, but old school, right? This is back in 2005. Yeah. So just to date myself a little bit, but like this was literally in-person meeting. There's no webinars or anything. This is literally 50, 60, 100 people in a room, printing out the docs, right, in physical paper with pens, people writing checks.
Are you serious?
I mean, seriously,
oh
old
my
school,
goodness,
suit
man.
and tie, PowerPoint. I think back then he wasn't even doing PowerPoint. It was like those acetate
So
things.
in 2005, right a little bit before the crash, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like literally, I got out of the law firm, went to work for these guys in 2005, and then obviously the crash happened in about 2008. So about 3 years before that, yeah.